All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're going to be talking about a few misconceptions that I've heard about the 1LT. So is the 1LT worth it? The quick answer is absolutely. You want to get these cars at the lowest price you can actually get them at, and still grab as many features or things that you like about the car in your price range. Now, to recap, I've already put out a video how much I paid. I paid $67,890 before taxes, came to about $72,000 out the door, and I paid that. Now, this is a 1LT with the front and rear, the front splitter and the rear spoiler. That's $599 or $595. Grill guards $495. You can find those for cheaper though. And then the color was $1,000. That's the only thing I've added onto this car from the factory. And then I tinted the windows with ceramic. That was another $280. That is all this car has. It's all factory as it sits, and I really don't plan on doing too much more to it. Maybe the custom wheels, I'm still waiting to see if I can get with this company to see if they can get those done for me. They're basically Z06 wheels for a C8 Corvette. So a couple of things I've heard about this car that I found to be a little misleading are the blind spots. Now, I personally I just did a fresh detail on it too. It's been sitting in the garage all day. It's late in the evening. I'm trying not to come outside too early. It's so hot down here. We've been under a heat advisory for the last month and a half. I don't know, 2 months. But it is 7:45 in the evening, and I just did a detail on it this morning, and I just let it sit in the garage, and now it is out for a fresh cruise real quick. I'm at about 450 miles or so now on the clock. A week ago or 2 weeks ago when I did a video, I think it was a week and a half ago, I don't know. Last time I did a video, I was at about 375. So I haven't put too many more miles on it. Still trying to get to that 500 mile break in so I can get the red line on it. But some things that I've heard about this car that I think are a little misleading. You'll hear some people say, when you buy this car, you'll hear them say, oh, you have to get the 2LT package at least. But what they don't tell you is that 2LT package will run you another $7,500 to $8,000 more for the same car, and it adds some features that I think is some people, I don't understand. Okay, so the 2LT, and this is a conversation for the people that said you have to get a 2LT versus the people that say they don't want safety features. So the 2LT adds 2 cameras to the front. It turns the rear view mirror into a camera. You can flip it up, and you have another camera right here for the 2LT. Now, I felt like I've driven cars for years, and I didn't see the need, unless it comes with it at the trim level I'm buying it. I'm not spending $8,000 more to get 4 more cameras that are supposedly going to help me with the blind spots on the car or help me drive the car. It also has blind spot monitoring with the 2LT. In my mirror, you don't see any markings here for blind spot monitoring because there are none. Now, depending on how old you are, you've driven a car without blind spot monitoring and all those cameras. So you know that when you look over your shoulder, you have to check all your mirrors and everything. Now, the thing about this car, when you get in the driver's side and you look over your right shoulder to try to look over and see if you're going to pass somebody or somebody's on your side, there is the area that's blocked, just like the Camaro. I've noticed when my convertible was up, this area right here was just totally unusable. And it is technically the same thing with this car, but I've seen some people, I think they just don't have their mirrors positioned correctly. I have blind spots, but the car isn't very difficult to drive without having all those extra safety features that are on the 2LT package and up. The 2LT package, you're spending a lot of money to get a few more things that you just don't technically need, but it's a want. And when it comes to a want, I respect it. I appreciate people who, if that's what you want to do, you go ahead and do it. But I can't see myself spending $8,000 for 4 more cameras and blind spot monitoring. When this car is a 1LT, so it's considered the base or entry level, and you can add things on. You can add a custom exhaust from the factory. You can add the high wind. You can add the front lift. You can get you can get all these different things added on a la carte, but I just don't think it's worth it. You can add the Z51 package. I don't plan on tracking this car. I heard somebody saying, I can't wait to see you on the track. I'm not tracking this car. Maybe not the tracking that the Z51 package is for. Now, a lot of people say, well, I got the Z51 package for the extra cooling. I hear you. But again, there's plenty of other ways to cool the car without paying $6,500 to do so, and getting a different suspension, getting some better brakes. There's always ways to do these things a la carte on your own after the fact and still save a ton of money. You can still ride like this and have a ton of money back in your pocket to spend how you want to spend it, opposed to what the factory tells you have to spend it on. So the 2LT package, it adds all those what people call creature comforts. Everybody I know who has the 1LT bought this car pretty much to save money. If you didn't, that's a weird reason to buy. I mean, this is a lot more affordable than the 2LT is. It is much more affordable. It's about $7,500 to $8,000 difference. I think it is. You can double check that on the website, but I haven't. I think it's a lot more. I think it goes up to $70,000 plus just to get the car itself at a 2LT. After that, folks, you're just paying for things to make the car look different. It's going to ride the same. It's going to be the same car. It just looks different. Pretty much that's all I could find, or I don't mind spending a little bit extra money to get something that I think is going to be beneficial to me. But I didn't see the point of going to the 2LT. I think this was totally worth it. And I'm really glad I went with the 1LT and saved all that cash. But to question, some people say that the blind spots on this car are horrible and that you won't be able to drive this car without having blind spot monitoring, and you won't be able to drive this car without having all the other cameras as in the mirror and all that stuff. I find that just not to be true. I've been driving this car now for some time, and it doesn't take long to get used to something when you're driving it. You just have to know how to drive, I guess. And I'm not saying other people are bad drivers, but coming from a person who drove a Camaro, and I didn't have, and some of the other cars had blind spot monitoring, but it came with the car. And so I enjoyed it. But my Camaro with the convertible, it was very difficult to drive with the top up, but I got used to it, and it was just a thing. I didn't need blind spot monitoring. And I think the people who are paying for the 2LT, telling others they have to get at least a 2LT. I've heard people tell me that, well, you got to get at least a 2LT. Well, why? Well, it comes with all the cameras and the blind spot monitoring. No, set your mirrors properly. I saw there's a guy on YouTube. He has a red 2020 1LT. He ordered it in 2019, I think it was, got it in 2020. He did a 30,000 mile review on his 2020 in 2023. Folks, that guy has no options. He didn't get the front and rear spoiler. He didn't get a color that you had to pay for. He just bought the car, and it was $59,000 at that time. $59,999 was the first price of this car. And 3 years later, my starting price for the 1LT is basically $65,000. So a big difference. But he has a 1LT, and he goes over a ton of things in the car to let you guys know you do not need anything higher than this. It's all wants. And I didn't base my decision on his purchase. I knew right away when I saw what came with the 2LT when I was building this car. When I sent my build over to the dealer, I said, I do not need all those extra features. I just don't. They're not worth it to me. They weren't worth it. And I said, I will not spend $7,000 on a Z51 package. I'm not going to spend spending an extra $7,000 to $8,000 just to go to the 2LT to get different color options and things like that for the interior, because the exterior colors, you just have to pay for the one you want if it costs. This color costs $995, basically $1,000. And to me, picking your color is your choice. But the 1LT package, not having a lot of the stuff that the 2LT package has, the main thing I hear people talk about is the blind spots. And the blind spots are perfectly fine to me. The guy with the red 1LT 2020, he said something very important. He said, you don't need to see your car. You need to adjust the mirrors to see other people. And I thought to myself, this is such a simple thing for a lot of people. I think a lot of people, in respect to the people who want to buy the 2LT, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't buy the 2LT. I'm telling you from where I sit, I could have bought a 2LT. I could have bought a 2LT. I could have bought a 3LT. I could have bought a convertible. I didn't want all that extra money going to something that I didn't need. I needed the car, wanted. But I need to get my foot in the door to get the car. But I didn't need all those extra, what they call creature comforts. And basically they're telling you It's not something that's going to help make the car any more beneficial overall. It's just it looks better. The interior is more premium and things like that. I personally feel like this interior is incredible. This is now if you go with the 1LT version, you have the option to pick black, red, sky cool gray, and I think it's one more. I have to double check, but you have at least those three colors. You have the option to choose black, which is what I have, red, sky cool gray. And the red one is the one that I think is the best option if you pick a car other than this color, because all the stitching, see how my stitching is trimmed in white all on the dash and on the steering wheel. On the red seats, there's no upcharge for this. You get red stitching everywhere and you get a red mark on your steering wheel. I thought that was pretty cool. So choosing the seats that you want also. So first thing I heard people talk about, there's really a big misconception, are the blind spots on this car, and it is very difficult to drive without blind spot monitoring. That is, to me, in my opinion, that is just not true. I think that's just people who are really trying to explain why they bought the 2LT or 3LT. You'll hear people say, well, you got to get the 3LT because you can get that dipped interior. And the dipped interior, basically, what that is, the dipped interior is basically you can have the interior all red or all blue or like that. Yeah. If it doesn't come like that, or I can do it aftermarket, that's the route I'm going to go. That's just me. That's how I handle things. You do what you want to do, but I'm telling you, paying all that extra money. I've seen people pay for the same C8 I have. They go with a 3LT and they end up spending Z06 money. Now you might say, well, Jay, they don't want a Z06. Okay, right. I would definitely take, because I tried to get a Z06, but I missed the allocation and it was already closed by the time I got over there. It closed on April 6th at the dealers, and I was furious because I went over there on April 17th. Or you would see a Z06 1LZ sitting right here, which is basically the lowest trim of the Z06 package. That's what you would see. It seems like every time I hear recording, this guy comes out here and lets his dog out to use the bathroom. But that's what you would see. So in my humble opinion, getting the 2LT and the 3LT they weren't worth my money. They weren't worth my money. They may be worth your money, but it wasn't worth my funds. So the blind spots and all those things that people said were, you have to get a 2LT, you have to do this, you have to do that. I didn't feel like it was worth it. So another thing also was going up into the 3LTs for that extra interior. There are people on YouTube that have 3LTs that said you should at least get this because the interior is premium. Well, this is the Moulin leather. We'll talk about the seats too. These seats are super comfortable, folks. They are super comfortable, and it is well worth it because they don't cost anything extra. The GT1 seats don't cost anything extra. They don't cost anything extra. So you consider that for a second. But as far as the leather goes, the leather in here is absolutely beautiful. Comfortable. The GT2 seats, again, are the most comfortable of all the seats. And then the leather in here is really nice. I've seen people with the red, the sky cool gray. Their seats look phenomenal. Still look brand new after 2 or 3 years. So that's another thing that I think is a big misconception, that you have to move up to the 3LT in order to get the premium leather feel in your car. I don't think so. Now, another thing, once again, is the GT1 seats. A lot of people said, you got to get at least the GT2 seats. Well, a lot of people are not, and I think a lot of these people who are telling people this are 5'5" or 5'2", 110 pounds. I'm 6'4", 220 plus, around between 220 and 225 or so. And I'm a tall guy, so I don't have big hips. I'm kind of slim fit frame. But there are people out there I've seen that are 400 pounds or 350, or at least they look like that, and they fit in that driver's seat just fine, but they're shorter than I am. So they can't get a GT2 seat or a competition seat because the bolsters are way up here. They come up higher, and they're for performance. That's what they're for. See, a lot of people will tell you, you need to do this, but they're not telling you the other side of that. They're 5'2" to 5'7" or something like that. They're not our height. They're not over 6 feet most of the time. And they're also really slim. So telling a person to get the GT2 seats or get the upper trim, the competition seats, is misleading because you're telling the person to buy into something that is just really not, they shouldn't get it. And when I started to order my car, GM told me, they said, when I talked to the guy at the concierge service, he said, how tall are you? What do what's your size and everything? And I said, I'm 6'4", just over 220. And he said, get the GT1 seats. For one, you're 6'4", so you're gonna need the extra height for the room because those seats are gonna be more comfortable. And he said, also grab the, he said, stay away from the competition seats. And I said, okay. So, in my opinion, they gave me the right choice. And then he said, also go to the dealer and sit in a GT1 seat. Yeah, he said, sit in a GT1 seat. And I think you'll be very comfortable with that. You don't have to go to the GT2 or the comp seats because the comp seats cost $995, and then the GT2 seats, I forgot they're not that much more in price. If you're going to be tracking the car, then yeah. But if you're not going to be tracking the car, then the GT1 seats are more than enough. And so also another thing, that's something else, the seating, the leather, those are all things I've heard people say, yeah, you really need to get this, you have to get this. And I'm thinking, no, you don't have to get it. Those are just your recommendations. But some people really fall victim to it and get something they don't need. Now, this area right here can be dressed up any way you want to. It has covers and stuff that you can put on there. So I do plan on doing some things maybe later, but I've seen people say you have to get the interior package for the engine. You need to put carbon fiber all in. You need to do all these things. I just don't see it, folks. I don't see that it's necessary. If you're going to be putting the car in a show, then yes, you probably should do that. But if you're not going to be putting that in a show, you really don't have to. You keep the car, you dress the car a la carte how you want to do it. That's what I say. Let this guy go by. Yeah, he clearly, that guy comes out here all the time. It seems like when I'm filming, he drives his cart around with a dog, and he lets the dog out and go to the bathroom, and he gets back and he drives off. Anyway, there's a lot of things I can give on my opinion on what you should and should not do when you're buying a car. But you see how I am on this channel. I frequently talk about saving you money, and I frequently talk about still getting a very nice vehicle or whatever I'm talking about at the time. You can do it, folks. It's not impossible. But one other thing I want to point out about the dash, people who are getting the 3LT version, their dash is peeling. Apparently that's supposed to be some known issue with the 3LT, some 3LT models, their dash is peeling. Yeah, I don't know how, I keep mine in the garage, so hopefully I don't have that problem. I think it's just the car itself, that maybe that's a quality control issue that GM hasn't taken care of yet. But yeah. Now, I talked about a lot of things that, people recommend and I don't recommend. But as the car sits, folks, the original question is the 1LT worth it? And the freaking question is easy to answer. Of course it's worth it. Of course the 1LT is worth it. Anything above the 1LT. Also, one more thing. Mag ride and front lift. I'll put those together. So many people have told me if you have a low driveway, you got to get mag ride for the comfort. No, they talked about the front lift. You got to get the front lift. You got to get the front lift. I have a very not steep driveway, but it's got a huge bump to get in my driveway where the curve is. I just go in at an angle like I've done every other low car. Just that simple. I just go in at a low angle, period. There's nothing to that. Now, some people say you should get mag ride. Now, mag ride, what you'll see when you see one of these and they have mag ride, this is what it looks like. Press on the E and you can open that up. Mag ride will have these little connectors right here where you can control the comfort of the car. Now, I've had other cars that have that, and yeah, it was cool and everything. I liked it, but it's not something that I have to have. So many people said you have to have mag ride on this car or the ride isn't good. Folks, that's just not true. It's not that they're wrong. That's just their opinion. They're recommending something to you that you don't need. You don't need mag ride. This ride is super comfortable. Talk to a lot of people who have a 1LT without mag ride, or just a car without me. You can get mag ride on all of them, I believe. But talk to people who don't have mag ride. They're going to tell you, man, this car is phenomenal. It's so comfortable. That's what they're going to tell you. They're not going to tell you, yeah, I probably should have gotten it. And if they do, maybe they're falling victim to, I'm not going to say that. Maybe they just really feel like they should have gotten it because they don't like the way it feels without mag ride. How about that? I'll be fair. But personally, after driving this, I'm glad I didn't get Mag Ride. I'm glad I didn't get the Z51 package. I'm glad I didn't get a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, man, it's your man Jay. I'm going to get out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Some things about the 1LT base trim or entry-level trim that you might hear. I say go to a dealer. Now, unfortunately, you can't test drive this car. The only way you probably be able to test drive one of these is if it's on a used car lot or it's used, or the dealer is super cool and lets you drive the car with them in the car. This is one car that they do not let you test drive. But your man Jay, my salesperson, they were like, hop in, do your thing. Yeah. So I drove mine. I drove this car. I didn't drive any of the other ones. Once it came in and before I took them the check to pay it, they said, go ahead and jump in and take it around. And I really didn't want to because I don't like doing test drives when I'm buying something. I'm trying to buy something that I know should have pretty good quality. So that's that. So I test drove mine when it came in, but this is a car that you probably won't be able to test drive. The dealers aren't trying to hear it, man. If you get a test drive on one of these, that's a very cool dealer because they don't want you to hot dog it or, you know what I'm saying, dog it out. And they're probably going to want to go with you or make you pay a deposit to test drive it. I don't know. But a lot of places don't do test drives. Anyway, it's your man Jay. Don't believe a lot of stuff you hear about this car. It's all subjective and it's all personal opinion about everything that's being said. So when people are firm on saying, no, you have to get this, or I recommend you really get it, you go test things out for yourself. You find your way of doing things and you try to figure it out and see if it's something you like. Anyway, another look at the American Ferrari. It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm enjoying this car. It is freaking amazing. I'm telling you, it is a eye catcher. People stop you, want to talk to you, no matter what it is. They want you to tell them about this car. They just want to all over it. And if you're buying this car, be ready for that. People are going to want to talk to you, and so you can't be a jerk. You gotta be a people person, pretty much. I think I am. I don't mind talking to anybody because I like cars. But it's your man Jay. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.